Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It will help other people discover the show, which is, of course, our goal, and it will keep us going and expand our base. I had a hard time sleeping this evening because I was thinking about the state of our union. Jimmy Kimmel has been indefinitely suspended by ABC. The question is why? Because Brandon Carr, the chair of the FCC, had urged in an interview a suspension as a punishment for the comments that Jimmy Kimmel made relative to the assassination which took place last week. There is now a chilling effect across America because freedom of speech, the First Amendment, is under attack. And let's be clear, it is under attack by the President of the United States and the chair of the FCC. Let's be absolutely clear and honest about this. It is not just people who are critics of Donald Trump who are upset. Every American should be upset. And I suggested in conversations I had yesterday and early this morning that the removal of Jimmy Kimmel, like the removal which took place of Colbert, is something that should send a message to all Americans. Donald Trump and his administration are opposed to freedom of speech. More than that, they are using fear and intimidation. And that fear and intimidation is spreading across the land. There is no excuse for this, and frankly, there is no excuse for this administration. I want you also to know that today, the vaccine committee appointed by Robert Kennedy Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, is convening for the first time. And the question of vaccines will now be open. And I've listened with great care to all the back and forthing on these issues. And I must tell you, America is under siege. It's under siege by its own president. And even as we raise these issues, the President of the United States is being feted in Great Britain, a magnificent banquet at Windsor Castle. And the President called this a high point of his life. Well, let me assure you, there are many high points that people experience. But the high point of Donald Trump's life is coupled with a low point in the battle to preserve the First Amendment. Some of you will think I am too harsh. No, I reject that notion. Liberals and conservatives should all be concerned about this threat to freedom of speech and, yes, to the nation's health. There can be no doubt that Donald Trump has been and continues to be a force that is harming American democracy. More than that, I believe it is an administration that is harming the American people. Now, I received an email from one of our listeners who is very loyal, who said, John, you're wrong. Donald Trump is the greatest president we've ever had. Let me be clear. When rating the presidents takes place again, I believe that Donald Trump will be at the bottom of the heap, and deservedly so. Now, here's the question. Will the Republicans stand up and speak out? The only restraint on Donald Trump that we have from the Republicans is in the Congress. And the question is, how long will they put up with this assault on the American Constitution? We also have to look to the Supreme Court, which has some major decisions to make. Will they stand foursquare for freedom of speech and American democracy? There is one hope that I have. I believe that Jimmy Kimmel, like Colbert, were popular with America. Will Americans of all stripes stand up and just say no? Will we fight back And let me be clear, I believe that we are in a battle for American democracy. And this is something we need to take into account. I listened to Kash Patel, the director of the FBI. He is a national disgrace. And 3 cheers for Congressman Raskin, who interrogated and presented the case against what's happening in the FBI. I am not an hysteric. I am not one who is willing to give up the fight. I am one who believes with all my heart and soul that when you listen to the president and you listen to Robert Kennedy Jr., and you listen to Brendan Carr, and you listen to what this administration is foisting on America, well, it's time for us with a conscience to answer. I listened with great care to the presentation made recently by George Clooney about Edward R. Murrow. And I keep thinking to myself, if only Edward R. Murrow were alive, if only broadcast media, CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, had the gumption to fight back. Because we must, my friends, or we will lose the very essence of America. I am not prone to exaggeration, nor am I prone to extreme views. But I can tell you that this really is what Joe Biden defined as a battle for the soul of America. And it is not a Democratic struggle, nor a Republican struggle. It is a struggle for our Constitution, for everything we believe in this country that has made us great. Let us be clear. Some of you will be upset with me for making this clear and precise statement of what I consider to be fact. But that is precisely what I intend to do on this podcast. And my friends, if I can paraphrase Winston Churchill, this is not the end. It is not the beginning of the end. It is the end of a beginning of struggle. And it is a struggle which Americans must embrace for the future of our democratic system, the future of the Constitution, the future of freedom of speech. Well, that's what's at stake here. And we must understand who is battling to take those things away from us. And we must battle back with as much vigor as we can against those who would assault American liberty. Whether it is the President of the United States, the Chairman of the FCC, the Director of the FBI, or frankly, anyone who believes that this course is correct. So let me be absolutely 100%, as my old boss Richard Nixon would have said, perfectly clear. This needs to be exposed, and the battle needs to be waged. It needs to be done within the parameters of democracy and freedom and respect for the Constitution. And all of those things, my friends, on all of those battles will hinge the future of this great nation. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. You can interact with me on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You can email me. And most assuredly, I want to know what you think. I want to know if you agree with me. We are in a battle for the very soul of American democracy, and we cannot afford to lose. Deep appreciation to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast. Keep it up, Gogo, and I will too. This is John Rothman. I'll be back tomorrow with another chapter, if you will, in the ongoing saga of Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you then.